wasn't prepared for life being as hard as it is. Listen, I had a good upbringing, came to know the Lord at a young age, have a great marriage. My kids love me, I think, and practice their faith. I never overcame a major drug or alcohol problem. I became a therapist to help others in their suffering. I did and tried all the right things as best as I could. Again, I'm not perfect. I have my own sins and failings and shortcomings, but somehow I believed if I just did all the right things, everything would just work out. And boy, was I naive. I'm grateful for all the Catholic apologists and speakers who boldly proclaim that following Christ is the simple key to unlocking and solving all life's problems. But I know too many people, including myself, who feel duped by this subtle prosperity gospel message that has been preached. Maybe it's that simple for them, so I'm not trying to judge anybody, and I'm grateful that it does work for them. But boy, that has certainly not been the case for me. Many of us fall through the cracks. Things don't work out as well as we want them to. Suffering is prolonged. Answers don't come as quickly as we prayed for them to come. The promised success doesn't show up. The hot date never comes right to our front door. Our infertility is still present. The addiction doesn't seem to want to vanish. Listen, my dear friends, here's the hard truth. There is no version of this thing we call life without suffering. And let's just be honest for a second and say that life is really hard, even for devout Catholics. It's okay. It's okay to just admit that. So what do we do about it? Well, we do as our Savior has instructed us to do. We pick up our cross and we follow after him. Starting a little heavy today, aren't we? Well, welcome everybody to the Always Hope podcast. This is Dr. Mario Sacasa, licensed marriage and family therapist, and grateful to have you joining me for another episode. Well, suffering is part of life, and as Christians, I feel like there's this push to have to ignore the pain or to rush to the joy that's supposed to come. I get it. Listen, I'm a Christian. I believe in the resurrection. Life is great. Yes, all of that is true, but I also don't think that naivete is the best way to promote the gospel. Sometimes it feels like we have to cover up the difficulties of life because we're supposed to be better. I don't know. I don't know what gospel we're preaching or what version of the biblical message that we're trying to communicate to others. But whatever it is, it's falling flat because it's not taking into account the reality of people's circumstances. Suffering is part of life. And yes, dear Christians, dear Catholics who are listening to me, it is okay to admit it. Even if we are the people of the resurrection, it's okay to admit it. Being a Christian doesn't take away the pain from life, but rather what being a Christian does is that it offers the best prescription for navigating it. What does Christ say about this? Jesus himself says, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." These aren't just pious words of martyrdom, but the key to understanding peace during suffering. If following Christ is the key to happiness, which I believe it is, if being his disciple is the best chance that I have to finding peace on earth, which I absolutely believe to be true, then what the heck is Christ saying here? He's saying three things. The first, we have to deny ourselves. The second, we have to take up our cross. We have to pick those heavy, rugged things up, and we have to follow him. So let's break that down. First, we must deny ourselves. AKA, what is Jesus saying? He's saying, yeah, at times we're going to have to get over ourselves. We have to learn to deny the false desires. We have to learn to deny the false desires that nip within us. We have to let suffering be the thing that sifts the wheat from the chaff inside of us. We have to sift our desires. See, not everything that we think or every idea that we concoct is coming from the Lord. There are clear desires that God puts within our hearts, but suffering becomes the thing that does the sifting. If you know anything about the Catholic spiritual tradition, what you'll read is that there's two types of purgation. This process of sifting, another way of saying that, it's the purgative way. It's the purgative process. And the spiritual writers will say that there's active purgation and there's passive purgation. Active purgation is the things that we take on. We're in the season of Lent right now, and what are we doing? We're fasting, we're almsgiving, we're praying, we take cold showers, we do sleep deprivations, we take bold risks of faith, we give to the poor, we serve others, we do deliberate acts of self-denial. Why do we do those things? Just so we can kind of tally up the brownie points in heaven? No, just so that we can be strong and disciplined? Maybe we're getting there, just so we can live a healthy lifestyle? Possibly. But more than that, it's that the Lord invites us to pick up these crosses, to take on these active purgations, to deny ourselves, that we actively are learning how to deny ourselves so that purgative process happens, so that sifting occurs, so that what is the true and holy desire that is at our core will shine as bright as it possibly can, and it will not be obstructed by any lesser thing. And man, those lesser things can get in the way. Distractions, temptations, all of that stuff is there. And so we can actively try our best to shake and rid ourselves of those comforts, of those distractions, of those sins, to be able to get as much clarity as we can to seeing the Lord. So we have to deny ourselves. But as we've kind of been talking about in this episode thus far, what often does the sifting for us is what the spiritual writers refer to as the passive purgative process. The passive purgative process is the stuff of life, the junk that happens, the suffering that we experience, the unanswered prayers, the longings, the desires that are not met, all that stuff that is in life that forces this sifting. It forces a death of our ego. It forces a renunciation of our pride. It forces a sharpening of our intellect. Suffering forces us to learn how to be more Christ-like. It increases our compassion towards others who are suffering as well. The purgative process is something that is difficult. It's something that we can choose in an active sense. And it's also something that befalls us. But even if it's passive, it's still something that we choose. And we're going to speak more about that in just a little bit. God uses both of these acts to help this process of denying ourselves. This is what Christ is speaking about. Often the things that get in the way, the desires that prevent us from fully being able to deny ourselves, are the desires for comfort. I get it. I just want to scroll on YouTube. I want to eat that tub of ice cream. I want to be tempted by lust or by some other itch. Comfort. Security gets in the way as well. Desire, there's nothing wrong for security, but does it lead to envy? Does it lead to vanity? Does it lead to pride? The need to confuse my own success for God's provision? Have to be able to let go of that as well and deny ourselves that. Understanding, similarly, that sometimes we want to be able to know everything. And even Walter Chizik himself says that often the struggles of faith, it's not so much a struggle of faith, but it's a struggle against understanding. Are we willing to suspend understanding? Are we willing to suspend and to trust in the Lord and knowing that whatever He's up to is good? These three, comfort, security, and understanding, while good desires in their own right, in a fallen sense, are often the things that get us into the most trouble. The second thing that the Lord tells us to do is to take up your cross. Pick up your cross. Now, this is a really funny, not funny isn't the right word, it's an odd imagery to evoke. We know it as people who know where the story goes. But for Christ to implore this as an image to his disciples before they even knew that he was going to die on the cross is kind of an odd thing. It's like telling your disciples to pick up your electric chair, pick up your shooting squad, pick up that lethal injection, pick up the thing that is the instrument of your torture and the thing that's going to be the instrument of your death. Oh, what? Goodness gracious. Like, okay, that's difficult. All right, we can all admit to that. But what is the Lord saying? He's saying to acknowledge the hardship of life is to acknowledge reality. To acknowledge reality. So the Lord, by saying, pick up your cross, is encouraging us to embrace reality as it has been presented to you. Choose to embrace the circumstances of your life. That includes the cross. That includes the hardship. And to be able to choose reality as it has come to you is actually a holy thing. That's the story of the incarnation. See, if God was against reality, he would have created it first and foremost, but then he wouldn't have stepped into time to redeem it. God, if he wanted to just live in the clouds, he could have done so. If he wanted to be, even in his incarnation, if he wanted to come as a rich king who had everything taken care of him, he could have done that, but he chose not to do that. That's not the story that we profess as Christians. He came to step into the story, to experience life in all of its forms except for sin, so that every experience of life, every moment of time can be touched by his grace, that every opportunity has the opportunity to be redeemed. And so this means that acceptance of what is before us is of supreme importance. Supreme importance. And it's what the Lord is asking us to do. To pick up your cross is to accept reality, to accept your story as it's happened, and all the crooked paths and twists and turns that it's taken. Benedict says that one of the great things of God is that he makes straight with whatever crooked road that we throw at him. Picking up our cross is choosing to embrace this. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to make ourselves a martyr either, okay? And I know people are like, oh, I'm suffering, all right? I'm picking it up, I'm picking up my cross, I'm doing my best. No, picking up your cross doesn't mean to suffer unnecessarily. I'm a huge fan of acceptance commitment therapy, and I really think that the language here from ACT is something that we can borrow in the Christian sense. ACT makes this distinction between clean pain and dirty pain. Clean pain is the normal reactions and the hardships that befall us, sort of that passive purgation that we were speaking about. But dirty pain is the unnecessary extra lagniappe that we throw on top of it. We go through some difficulty, we get into rumination. We go through some challenge in life, the condemnation emerges. We have some hardship, the shame starts to kick us in the face. That extra stuff, that rumination, that addictive behaviors, that shame, that extra thought, all of that can be decoupled from the pain of life. The process of doing so is something that we've explored in a previous episode and we'll continue to explore in future ones. But just bear with me as you're listening to this episode to know that that decoupling can actually happen. And by doing that decoupling, then we allow the clean pain to just be what it is, and that we can have some acceptance about it. The clean pain needs to be accepted. The dirty pain is what needs to be let go of. Another great prayer here that we can borrow that's coming from the 12-step language is the serenity prayer. Wisdom is knowing the difference between what I can change and what I can't. And peace is the result of that. If you can genuinely pray and say, Lord, grant me the grace to accept the things that I can't, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to be able to know the difference, that's the ticket here. That's the picking up of your cross. That's the ability to be able to look at your life and say, where do I still have a sense of agency? And where can I choose to embrace life as it's come before me? Rather than just allowing it to weigh us down and crush us, we can choose to stand up, to be courageous, and to face that difficulty head on. And by doing so, we're taking this next step that the Lord has invited us to do on this path of peace in the face of suffering. So first, we must deny ourselves. Second, we have to take up our crosses. We have to pick them up. We have to carry them. But where are we carrying them? Are we just carrying them for their own sake? No. What does the Lord say? He says, follow me, follow me, follow him. What does that mean? That means that even as we're denying ourselves, even as we're carrying our crosses, we're still choosing him, which means that we are still choosing goodness, that we are still choosing love, that we're still choosing faith, that we are still choosing hope, that we're still choosing to believe that his kingdom is possible to be seen on this side of heaven. That's what it means to follow him. Goodness has to be the final answer. Goodness has to be the final answer. Even as Christians, we proclaim that the day that Christ died to be what? Good Friday with a capital G. It's a good day. How is that a good day? The day that God died is a good day? Yes. Yes. because he's showing us the way and he's giving us the grace to be able to live it as possible as we can. He's showing us how to be able to live and to embrace the struggles and the crosses of life as best as we possibly can. And he's given us grace. He's not leaving us alone. He's there with us if we can just deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and come after him. And here's where hope really kicks in. To let go of the cross is to let go of hope. It's to choose delusion. It's to choose distraction. It's to choose deception. All these things are known as sin over the truth. It's to choose lesser things than God himself. But if we can go through this process of the sifting, of the embracing, of the following, then what happens is that this transformation begins to occur within us. It doesn't take away all the pain, but it allows us to be able to see God's plan, God's purpose, God's will operating within us. And when we get over the hump of this pain, we can start looking back at the story of our life and start seeing a trajectory, and we can start trusting the Lord. Hope is tied to memory. Why? Because when we look back at the experiences of our life, we can see and say, God, you provided for me there. God, you were present in that experience and you got me through it. This is why in the Old Testament, every time God did something miraculous, there was an altar that was there or a story that was told that was captured. Why? Because the Old Testament people, the people of the book, wanted to make sure that they didn't forget the things that God has done because they didn't want to forget who God is. We know that in the context of our faith, but how do you know that in the context of your life? Can you look at your life and sincerely point to moments in your life where you can say, God provided. God provided. He's given me enough to know that he's trustworthy. He's given me enough to not abandon everything and to hold on to who he is and to continue to pursue him. And if we do that, now we have this process. St. Paul says in his letter to the Romans, chapter 5, that we even boast of our afflictions, knowing that affliction produces endurance, and endurance proven character, and proven character hope. And hope does not disappoint. This hope does not disappoint. This process of denial, this process of picking up your cross, this process of following him, if we've done that in the course of our life, then we can boast of our affliction. Why? Because that affliction produces endurance and produces capacity to be able to be patient. And this endurance, this sifting, this growth, this recollection, this ability to be transformed within us through this affliction produces character. And maybe character is what the Lord is after. Quite possibly, it could be the thing that he wants more than anything else is our redemption and our ability to become the best versions of ourselves. And if we can map that process out and anchor that into our memory, that gives us hope. That gives us hope. See, despite all the hardships that I've experienced within my life, despite the hardships I've seen working for the church in many different ministry capacities, I'm still one of the idiots that believes, despite what I've experienced, despite what I've seen, I still choose Christ. I still choose him. I still believe that the Catholic way is the best version, the best way that we can do this. And I know that there has to be work done to improve things. And we're just in the part where we recognize that we're there, but not yet. It's the already, but the not yet. Redemption is possible, but let us be faithful in the midst of the suffering that we're experiencing. So if you choose to not hold on to, if you choose to hold on to the pain, you will not trust. If you choose to succumb to self-gratification, you're not inviting others to help satisfy. If you place all your hope in your ability, you're making an idol of yourself. If you try to figure it all out on your own, you will lose faith. The Lord's invitation is to abandon ourselves to him, deny ourselves, give it all to him, give it all to him, give it all to him, give it all to him. And when we deny ourselves, when we choose to embrace reality as it is, when we choose to still see goodness, we will find him. We will find him. And when finding him, is ultimately the thing that's going to give us peace. All right, everybody, listen, in an attempt to want to continue to grow my podcast and the reach of the show, I have been a pretty busy bee, and I've had the opportunity to be on a number of other podcasts. And so I want to take a second just to acknowledge those other shows and the topics that I've discussed on other people's podcasts, that if you are interested in them, then please go ahead and check those out. First and foremost, I had the opportunity to join my dear friend, Father Josh Johnson, on his podcast, Ask Father Josh. We covered 3 episodes on each dealing with a capital sin. He wrote a wonderful book called The Pocket Guide to Overcoming the 7 Deadly Sins, and we tackled 3 of those in 3 separate episodes. We tackled envy, which is just a gem of an episode, gluttony, and lust. Those 3 are really great, but I just feel like with the envy one, we really hit it out of the park. And so Father Josh is a dear friend, and as you listen to the episode, you will hear us bantering and goofing around, and it's just a delight spending time with my buddy. The second podcast I'd love to encourage you to listen to is the Families of Character podcast. I had a wonderful conversation with Jordan Langdon regarding differences in marriage and dating well. Wonderful conversation that we had there. Also, the Ferris Love podcast. I was delighted to be invited to have a conversation about my course, Overcoming Stress and Anxiety. We also have a wonderful conversation about wounds and why I'm not a big fan of that language that's become so popular in the church. So please check that out. Also was on the Redeemed Vision podcast to talk about pornography's impact on dating. Like I said, I've been a busy bee. All those episodes just came out within the last few weeks. So please check those episodes out. And if you are a podcast host, or you know somebody who is, or want to put me in touch with somebody, please, I am all ears. I love collaborating with other folks in this space to be able to spread this message of hope, this message of health and relationships that the Lord has put on my heart to spread to others. And so if you're a podcast host, please let me know. Love to be able to collaborate with you. If you just love listening to podcasts, then please check out those episodes. I think you're going to greatly enjoy them. So this kind of is the purpose of Lent, isn't it? I mean, Lent is this process of denying ourselves, learning to carry our cross, and learning to keep following Him. I know folks might be a little upset with what I'm about to say, but Lent kind of is the OG self-help challenge. I mean, we live in a day and age where they're like, take this 30-day challenge to your best self, 40-day challenge to your best self, do these 5 steps. Let's get on this challenge and say these prayers and follow this app and do these things, and you're going to become your best version of yourself. Before we had savvy marketing schemes, it was the church who said, how about we take 40 days? How about we take this period of time and dedicate it to reflecting on what's preventing us from actually growing closer to the Lord. The first time I took Lent very seriously, I was a freshman in college, and I just had my conversion the fall before. And I remember being in the shower, I think it was probably Ash Wednesday or the week before, I don't know when it was, sometime right before Lent, and praying and saying, all right, Lord, I'm going to take this serious for the first time. What is it that you want me to give up? What genuinely is getting in the way of our relationship? What can I do to be a better version of myself? And at that time, I was, I just got my conversion. So, still kind of emerging from some of the things that I was doing as a freshman college student. And I remember the Lord saying, give up going to clubs. And I was like, giving up clubbing? What? I remember vividly stopped in my tracks and being like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you want to, that's that? Can I give up chocolate instead or something else? Isn't there something better? And he was like, no, give up clubbing. Again, this is what I had perceived at that time, but it made sense. It was audible. It was clear. It was like, no, give this thing up that is genuinely getting in the way of our relationship. Because here's a little fun fact, I wasn't going to club to be virtuous. All right. Let's just say what it was. All right. So the Lord was saying, give this up. Give this up. It's time to give this up. And so I did. I remember coming home for spring break, and my friends from high school were all like, dude, let's get ready. We're going to have a great time. Let's do this thing. Let's go to all these clubs while we're out. We got all these great places in South Florida. And I was like, guys, I'm not going to do any of that. And they're like, oh, Mario, you're such a stiff, whatever, all this stuff. And well, it still made for a fun Lent. But even their misunderstandings was part of the sacrifice, and it was okay. In the end, it was okay, and I understood exactly what the Lord was asking of me. But so often in Lent, we embrace something, we give up something and go to the other extreme so that we can then find the medium ground with it. So we give up something like giving up YouTube. That's what I'm giving up for Lent this year, which is actually kind of funny because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. But this year I'm giving up YouTube and social media for Lent. Why? Because what I found in my life is that as I get stressed, truthfully, the thing that I turn to for comfort is the phone, like many of us. And it's easy to just scroll, doom scroll on social media, doom scroll on YouTube, and just waste time filling my mind with things that don't need to be filled with. And even if it's good things, just stuff that gets into my imagination that I'm thinking about that I don't even need to be thinking about. Ideas and problems I'm trying to solve that I don't need to be problem solving. So you give it all up for a time to be able to then develop some type of healthy relationship with it. That's the process. That's what Lent is for. It's to be able to look at our lives and say, well, what's getting in the way? What do we need to give up? How can we be honest with ourselves about what's getting in the way? And so take that to prayer. Whoever's listening, take that to prayer and see where are the places that I need to deny myself? Where are the places that I'm struggling to pick up the cross? Where am I struggling to follow him? That could be a healthy assessment for you for the rest of this Lent. What are the things that I need to do? Or what are the things I need to sacrifice to be able to deny myself more? What are the things I need to pick up? What are the things I need to deny myself to be able to pick up my cross? What's the attitudes that I need to do? What needs to change? What can I do to improve my capacity to be able to follow him? Just a healthy way for you to be able to navigate and discern what you should be giving up for Lent. Okay, we're wrapping this thing up, right? So just some final practical thoughts and takeaways. Here's a few kind of closing ideas on ways that you can carry your cross a little bit better. All right. First thing, be honest with God. Be honest with him. A dear friend of mine who's going through a lot right now in her life, lots of struggles, praying for her, certainly. She says that she certainly believes in God's goodness, still a faithful Catholic, still doing the things that she wants, still practicing her faith, still loving the Lord, doing all the right things for sure. Still believes in his goodness and in his promises and in his providence. But she says, but when I die and I see God, I will punch him. That's just a funny way of saying it. I mean, it's just honest. It's like, why does it have to be so hard, Lord? When I see you, I think I'm going to give you a little punch in the arm there. All right. There's biblical precedence for that. We can pray Jeremiah's cry. You duped me, O Lord, and I let myself be duped. Had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a biblical scholar, and he says that duped isn't even strong enough of a word. The word is actually more akin to some type of sexual violation. The most accurate English word that we could use is actually the F word there, that the F word is a more accurate translation there, but no one's going to publish that Bible, of course. So you duped me, O Lord, and I let myself be duped. That's an honest prayer when we're going through difficulties. Another kind of prayer that we can look at is the Jacob wrestling with the angel. Bless me, Lord. That's what he's praying. Bless me. I don't want to let you go until you bless me, until I can see your goodness in the midst of the struggle that I'm going through. A wonderful modern retelling of the story is Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. I know that reference might be a little dated for some of you, but there's a great scene in that movie where Lieutenant Dan, who loses his legs in war, is trying to reconcile his life with his failure. And in the middle of the hurricane, he's up in the crow's nest cussing God. Is this the best you got? Is this all you have? Bring it. Bring it. And he's wrestling and he's rendering his heart and he's giving it to the Lord. And it's ultimately the thing that brings him peace. God knows. God knows. God knows. God knows. God knows. God knows. And he's asking us to be in relationship with him. And he's asking us to wrestle with what's going on in life because we're being honest. But to wrestle with a place of humility, with a place of relationship, with a place of honesty, so that we can come to see him in the midst of the struggles that we're experiencing. So be honest with the Lord. Second kind of final practical takeaway here is we sometimes have to just let go of outcomes and choose to play. It could be that the cross you're carrying is heavier, partially due to the expectations that you place on yourself and on others. Yeesh. And I say that, listen, the beam in my eye, it's right here. Okay, so there's no splinter in yours. I can barely see because this beam is pretty pronounced within my own eye here. Okay, but often the expectations that we place on ourselves is unnecessary. Expectations we place on God, and the expectations we place on circumstances, on people, often that becomes the thing that makes the cross a little bit heavier. We have to let go of outcomes. We have to let go of knowing the end of all things. We have to have a little bit of humility, and all that we're responsible for is the things that we have control over. So tone them down. Let go of some of those expectations. Your life is not measured by your success. Give yourself permission to play, engage, do the things that are healthy, take care of yourself, do the right things, do something new, fail, it's okay. Give yourself permission to try new things, to fail, to let go of outcomes, to let go of expectations. Do the best that you can. God is giving us a great sandbox to play in. Go, go, go. The great image here is that of Marlin from Finding Nemo, the nervous, overprotective father who finally tastes a little bit of freedom when he's in the midst of the jellyfish, swimming in the midst of the jellyfish and afraid of his life and can't see his way out. He doesn't know which way he's supposed to go. And his lovely, optimistic, naive, little bit of aloof friend says, what? Dory says, let's play. And Marlon says, let's make a game out of this. All right. First one out, it wins. And so they just swim and they touch the tops and you can't touch the bottoms and just go. That is the image. That's the image, my friends. Play, find some freedom, play, let go of expectations, let go of the outcomes, and be able to play a little bit in life. And the last thing, and this is really just kind of recapping what we've been speaking about, is accept that your life is where it is. It's okay. It's okay. Look at your circumstances. Look at what's before you and say, all right, do I still choose hope, or have I chosen despondency? Is the cross really heavy right now and I just need to rest a little bit? Okay. Even in the Stations of the Cross, we pray that Jesus falls 3 times. So everybody gets a pass here. All right. Maybe it's a little heavy. But once you pick up a little bit of energy and a little bit of steam again, get a little bit of momentum in life, you can stand back up, look at your circumstances and say, what's a viable first next step? I don't have to look at the end, but what's right in front of me and what feels like a possible first next step? If you can identify what that first step is, then the next question is, do you have the willingness to take it? Do you have the energy to follow through with it? Do you have the willingness to say, I'm going to take that first step? I'm open to learning what needs to be learned. I'm open to doing what needs to be done. And if I can take that first next step, then maybe I can breathe and then take the next one. And then I take the next one, and then maybe I can breathe again and take the one after that. And then I can take the one after that, and I can take the one after that. I can take the one after that, and I can keep on going. That is the virtue of hope actualized within your life. I get it. You're listening to this podcast, and you could be in a really deep hole right now. I get it. Depression could be really hard. And addiction could be really pervasive. I get it. The story of the cross is that he dies and he descends into hell. So whatever hell that you're in, Christ has already descended into, and he's there to rescue, to ransom all the captives, to set them free. That's the story. But let's be patient. Look at your circumstances, reclaim a little bit of agency, and take the next step as you possibly can. We do this, folks. This is how we're going to make this best Lent ever. This is how it's going to be the most real, honest, sincere Lent that we could possibly have. Let's do this together. Let's pray for one another. Pray for the other listeners of the show. I pray for all of you. I'm grateful that you've given me your time. Continue to be brave. carry your cross as well, people. Because when we carry our cross as well, we do proclaim to the world that the resurrection is real. That we're saying that as heavy as this cross might be in life right now, this isn't the final say. This is just temporary. This isn't the final answer. My eyes are fixed on what's to come, and I believe in what's to come. And the world needs this eschatological hope. The world needs the Christian version of hope. And we are all invited to be witnesses of that hope, witnesses of the transformation that happens, witnesses of this process of being in communion with God, of denying ourselves, of picking up our crosses, of following him. So many blessings to all of you. God bless you all, and be good. And finally, just as we're wrapping this episode up, I want to be able to share one change, or not change, but one addition that I'm going to make to the Always Hope podcast. Inspired partially by being on the Ask Father Josh podcast, but also just when I travel to college campuses and do Q&As, or when I'm doing my marriage retreats, I always leave time for Q&A with the attendees. I love Q&A. I absolutely love it. I love being able to listen to people's questions and be able to have live dialogue and conversation with them. So in an attempt to try to replicate that onto the podcast, I will have a link available in the show notes for you to be able to start asking me questions. You can head on over to drmariusacasa.com/ask and fill out the form. There'll be two simple ways that you can ask your questions. One, you can put a 90-second voice memo through the SpeakPipe link, or you can simply type your question out. If you participate in the SpeakPipe link, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be taking that audio and using that in the podcast. So if privacy is your question, you don't want anybody to hear your voice, that might not be the best way to handle it. If you're not worried about the question that you're asking and you want to be able to just ask it and feel a little bit more free asking it in a conversational way, then please, I want to encourage you to use SpeakPipe. If that feels way too intimidating for you and you'd rather just writing out, then I have a form there on the website for you to be able to fill it out. And I'll have a little check also to let me know if you want to keep it anonymous or not. What I'm going to do with even the written out ones is I have wonderful AI tools that I use across my workflow for the podcast. And one of those tools gives me the opportunity to be able to use AI to generate voice. So I'm going to take your write-up, I'm going to plug it into the AI software, and it's going to create a pretty realistic sounding voice that of course isn't going to be your voice. So that's going to be hidden. It's going to remain private, but I'm going to use the audio just as another way to make things a little bit more dynamic with the podcast. All right. So I'll have a link to that in the show notes. Again, drmariusacasa.com/ask. Complete either way that you want to submit a question, whether it's through SpeakPipe, whether it's through the form, whatever your choice, whatever your desire, whatever way you prefer to do it, please go ahead and do it. And then I'm going to be taking those questions in the team. We're going to be reviewing them and we're going to start incorporating them into the end of the solo episodes that I'm doing. So right now I'm kind of on every other week between an interview episode and then a solo episode. And at the end of each solo episode, I'm going to start tackling these questions. So please, listeners, I need those questions. Ask away. Maybe there's an episode that I did recently that you listened to and you're like, I need a little bit more clarity on something that you said. Maybe there's a guest that came into one of the episodes and they said something, you want a follow-up question about what was communicated there. Maybe you have another more general question about what the church teaches regarding marriage and sexuality. Maybe you have particular questions about dating or marriage or intimacy within your relationship. Okay? I don't know. The floor is yours, people. The floor is yours. And I want to be able to receive those questions and I want to continue this dialogue. I love being able to dialogue with my listeners. And this is another creative way that we can continue this conversation. So please click the link in the show notes that I have available for you, or head on over to drmariusacasa.com/ask and ask away. Let's get this conversation going. I need some few brave souls to be the first ones in. It's like, someone's always got to be the first one in. So I need some of those questions to come so I can start asking them in future episodes of the podcast. All right. I look forward to receiving them, whether you ask or don't ask. Just always want to let you know that I'm grateful for your time, grateful for your attention, grateful that you've allowed me to join you on your day to play some small role in helping you to be able to carry your cross. So many blessings to all of you, and We'll see you guys in the next episode. God bless.